claims just just as outlandish. If that's what we're going with,
Mm-hmm.
the and they're never willing to do that though. They cannot. I find this of people of all different faiths, but they cannot fathom that somebody else may be right and they may be wrong. Like they can't ever
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
imagine that that's possible or what
But
that would
but
be
if
like.
if you think about it though, that from the time they were infants, they were told, you know, you if you even question this in the way back of your head, you're going to the most horrible, horrible place ever with fire and torture, and it goes on forever and ever and ever. And it's like, well, when you're a little kid and that's all you're told, and you're absolutely certain it's real. Well, my God, of course you're going to be terrified to question anything, you know?
So, so Isa is actually a great person to come on and talk about this because Isa's family he has a Muslim family and a Jewish family. So,
Okay.
yeah, he gets to experience a little bit of how they talk past each other and just have no idea. Like it's because belief isn't something that you can actually just choose like that. I think it
Mm-hmm.
makes it to where it's really hard to understand that other perspective. Until, like, for me being an atheist though, I'm able to step out of that. And
Right.
Issa may be able to also since he has that experience. But I'm able to step back and look at it, not necessarily from both sides, but to analyze the claims a little differently than somebody who believes, I think. And
Well, it's hard to see anything when you're inside of it, whether it's drugs or alcohol or no matter what the thing is. When you're in the middle of it, it's
yeah.
very hard to identify what's going on.
Well, I'll let Issa speak on it, but I imagine having two sides of your family, and you eventually just because you either believe one or you can't really believe both without being contradictory, or you don't believe either, right? If you have these two choices, so no matter what, there's going to be a group of people that are disappointed in your choice, or what they're going to call a choice anyway. And
Yeah.
did you kind of experience that, Issa? Did you have cheerleaders on both sides?
So it's funny. I come from the interesting group of Jews. If you know who about Carl Sagan, probably most of your audience know who Carl Sagan is. Um, Folks like Einstein. I come from the secular humanist Jewish contingency. My mom's family does. So most of my mom's family are actually what I guess you would call atheists. The most religious people in my mom's family um, are like reform. I have one uncle who became a Buddhist, and then he became an evangel. Well, I'd say Jesus believer in Christ or an evangelical Christian. Um, um, that's really interesting because he actually married a black woman, and so that's you know when we went to our reunions, she and I, my cousin and I, would hang out together because we were the kind of diverse folks. um,
Was there a religious prohibition to marrying a black woman, or
no,
what
Jewish
was
people
there?
are really cool with it. No, I was commenting on what you're saying. Jewish people are
Oh,
really cool with intermarriage,
okay,
at
okay,
least in generation. Yeah,
gotcha.
like my mom was a hippie in the '60s, so yeah, her generation, like everyone before, they all just married other Jewish people, but in her generation moving forward, they were cool marrying anybody. Like it didn't matter,
Hmm.
and you probably see that if you ever see like Jewish media and stuff, like see Jewish characters, they're pretty open minded, at least the more like liberal progressive ones.
You always see the stereotypical Jewish mother or grandmother that's like, "Oh, she's so beautiful, but she's not a Jew."
Yeah.
And it's hard for the male because according to orthodoxy, if you're a firm Jew, it
Mhm.
doesn't really matter about the woman, but it does matter about the man. It's kind of the inverse of Islam. It's funny, Islam and Judaism are inversed in this space. So it's funny, my dad's family is Muslim, like Sufi, probably intermarried with Hindus as well, because my father's family is South Asian. And that's another funny group because a lot of South Asians are super secular and atheist, if you notice, like, because South Asians are forced to go into like hard sciences. So once you start studying hard sciences, following religious stuff is kind of difficult, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's a difficult
The
thing. There's a
theist
lot
is
of pressure.
telling you this.
It's a lot of pressure for South Asia.
Well, that's really fascinating because in my family, the part of my mom's family who still lives in Germany absolutely considers me Catholic. But my grandfather was Catholic, but he was an atheist. Back in the 1920s, he came over here and met, my soon-to-be grandmother. And he's like, that's a bunch of nonsense. It's all man-made. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, we got to go to church, but whichever one you want. She was Lutheran. And so my family just kind of went with the Lutheran thing, but officially they still consider me Catholic, even though I've never been to a Catholic, mass or anything.
That makes sense too. Like the German background, being Lutheran and Catholic, like is your mom's family German too?
Oh yeah, yeah. And I mean, I'm first generation born here.
Wow.
On my dad's side, and
I actually went to Germany. I went to Berlin, and I went to Checkpoint Charlie. I went to the Holocaust Museum there. I was there I was working as a journalist, and I was there for a conference on nuclear nonproliferation because Germany is very big on mutual nuclear disarmament around the world. So a lot of ambassadors came there. Like at the time, Ambassador Hoffman was there, and the Mexican ambassador was a really big deal. So all these ambassadors came and it's hard. I was working for an organization called Middle Powers Initiative, and the goal was to get rid of nuclear weapons, but it's a very difficult thing. So Germany was kind of on the push to getting rid of nuclear weapons around the world.
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually. That's a good story. I think and exactly what you said, like it's not about like your family members in your case, Kurt, they didn't care what you believed necessarily. They were just ready to claim you.
It follows the male line down, and that's what you are. It doesn't matter what you believe. Yeah.
And that's how it is in Islam. So my father comes from a very it's actually funny. Both of my families come from these very auspicious families within the tradition. So my mom's family comes from this family called the Kohanim family, which are the priests. So like Aaron, Moses, this is what's stated, that's the narrative. You can't necessarily like almost like ethnic heretic stories of heritage. We can't prove any of these stories. You know what I mean? But they're the stories that are told. Like even our race and ethnicity, a lot of these things are socially constructed. Honestly speaking, I'm very honest about that. And my dad's family comes from the Prophet of Islam, so it's this really interesting space. So my mom's family comes from Hebrew prophets. My dad comes from Middle Eastern prophets, and it's an interesting kind of experience. And it's exactly the inverse, where in the Islamic tradition, it's patrilineal. So if your father is the tradition, you're that. So like in the Islamic tradition, a man can marry a non-Muslim woman, but a Muslim woman can't marry a non-Muslim man. But they've found loopholes.
Well, of course. That I think that was my first clue as a little kid. It's like, well, wait a minute. There's a loophole for everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so what I've saw, because a lot of Muslim women like non-Muslim men in general, I've noticed that that's a big thing, because I think at least in like America, you don't have the same kind of patriarchal type of stuff. You know what I mean? So that's something that they're like, oh, I'm more comfortable with this kind of thing. So what the guy does is they'll do like a shahada. You know what I mean? They'll say the words, but they don't really practice Islam. They'll just say the words so they can get married. And I'm like, I don't blame that. I understand that completely,
Well, that's what everybody had to do. Like talking about my grandparents back in the 1920s, you had to kind of pick something and just go along with it, pretend, say the words, show up at church, and,
Yeah, they kind of depend on that. A lot, in my aspect growing up was they didn't, ask questions or anything. It was just like, okay, you show up and it'll stick eventually. Well, and
Right.
it's
Right.
almost like a brainwashing kind of thing in that sense. But related to what Issa said too, though, I remember like when I got married. I've been married and divorced, and you know, I don't know about everywhere else, but in Kentucky, you or in this part of Kentucky anyway, you go to the courthouse and you sign the papers, and if you're like that's not enough though, you got to go across the street to the chapel place, and it's very much a religious ceremony, whether you want it to be or not, you know, and
Well, I got married in Kentucky the third time, the most recent time, and uh, we had a judge do it because at that point I was just, I was old enough to be done with all this stuff. I wasn't going to pretend for anybody. We just did the two of us, got a photographer and the two of us, and
now
got a judge.
now see
So
a judge doesn't do it where I'm at. What
really,
yeah, you actually they have a I don't know what position the guy at the chapel holds, but you get the papers filled out at the courthouse and they make you sign things saying you're not related that you know of and all that stuff, and then you walk across the street
well, you
and
get a marriage license,
right
but
you
you can
apply
have.
for it.
I mean, there's a statutorily defined, who can
Yeah,
uh,
right.
do, and
Yeah,
so
you fill out the stuff and apply for it. Then you go over and the uh, I don't know what again. I don't know what he is. The guy at the chapel then signs it, and you take that back over there, and you get your marriage license.
huh.
That's so I don't know what the or at least that's the way it was
Which
whenever I got
county? Which county was that?
Boyd.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We're way out in the sticks.
We got married in Boone County. So
Oh, okay. I've been to Boone County many times. Yeah, not that far from here, really.
yeah, no.
Boyd County and Carter County are kind of Greenup County. Although all these counties over here in eastern Kentucky are kind of about 20 years behind everybody else. Lawrence County, especially Lawrence County, Kentucky. That is.
It's
Yeah.
funny, I was in Boone County because I went to the Creation Museum.
Oh, well, that's coming up again, huh?
I liked it. I thought it was like a really high level. I was surprised to find that in Kentucky. It was a very high level museum. It was like an amusement park. That's how I viewed it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, Ed. I think this guy was a justice of the peace. I think that's what, which is a judge technically, but like, that's all he really did. I don't know if it's required that they be that. I think any judge can do it, but I don't know. Like I said, I got married once and got divorced. I'm never going to do it again. So, my girlfriend and I are happily unmarried. So,
yeah, I mean, but a lot of times it's also just a matter of things like
legal
insurance and taxes and all this stuff too, which
now,
really in our case was the thing.
so with my current girlfriend, if there was like a legal reason or some if there was some reason that we needed to be married, we would do it. That wouldn't be a problem. It's just neither one of us are we don't really first of all see the purpose in it.
Yeah.
But because we don't need it for those legal reasons. So we just to us it looks like signing half your shit over to somebody else, like it's just and we're gonna be together or maybe not. I think we're gonna be together though, regardless of what the state identifies us as. So
Well, it's just for me, it was one of those huge, things that just fogs your brain that the first two times I didn't really feel like I needed to be in this relationship. Like I really wanted to be with this person, this relationship. It's just the conservative circumstances of it
Yeah.
required that you have a big wedding and the announcements and the, you know, the whole deal. And this time, I was older and I was way out of the closet as an atheist, and she's Chinese and she's beautiful. And I was just like head over heels, literally in love. And, you know, she's just so great. And I can't imagine what I almost put myself through for life, you know, with these conservative ideas in my head that, oh my God, you had sex when you were 18 and therefore, you know, you got to marry her. You know,
Yeah.
so
No. That's I literally my marriage. This is funny. I had been in jail for 18 months. I got out. I was looking for a woman, and I got on the internet and came across one, and somebody I had went to school with and stuff, and she's like, "Hey, come over and stay all night at my house," and I was like, "I'll be right there," and
yeah.
she got pregnant, and a month after we met, we got married. She was
Oh my
never my
God.
girlfriend, not at all. I thought that was the right thing to do, like
So
I was
you too were horny, and it could have screwed your life up really bad.
oh, it did screw my life up really bad.
Yeah.
I suffered dearly for that. I remember after I got married, I called my sister and I said, "Hey, I just got married." And she said, "Why?" And I said, "Well, why not?" And she said, "Because divorces are expensive." And that was one of the most intelligent things my sister ever said to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's I understand people who if that is your way of making some statement or commitment or whatever, I understand. Like if that means something to you to do it, like I'm not against marriage. It's just
Oh
my
no.
girlfriend and I, we kind of agree on the how we look at it, and so we don't really see a purpose to doing that. At one time we talked about it, and it was
Mhm.
like, why do we want to go give $100 to the courthouse? We can spend that on something else. Like, like
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
wasn't a priority. And for some people it is. And in some cultures, what we're doing is not acceptable.
Oh
And
my God. Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah. It used to be that way more in Kentucky, just in
oh,
general. It wasn't
it still is
acceptable.
to some extent.
Is it still?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. I have people tell me all the time that you need to be
Uh,
married and you're doing her wrong and you're sinning and all that shit.
and the thing is, it's like they would be perfectly happy for me to be in my first or second absolutely miserable, ready to blow my brains out marriage forever
Yeah.
until death, which probably would come pretty soon. Um, as opposed to, I got to get my head straight,
Yeah.
and and maybe I want to be married, maybe I don't, but um, it's just stay in a situation like that for no reason.
Yeah. Right.
It's wrong for both people.
Yeah. Uh, if you don't, if marriage doesn't hold that kind of connotation for you, then getting married would kind of like, unless you had a legal reason again, getting married would kind of not, it would be more detrimental than helpful, I think, because you don't believe none of those
Yeah.
reasons that you're supposedly married for. You're pretending.
Yeah.
Um, the upper right guy is a lawyer from Kentucky. Oh, telling someone else that, I guess. Yeah, I see what's up now. I see what you're doing. Hi, Jenny Morgan. Glad you're here. Uh, yeah, so I think you experienced a lot of the same stuff I did also, Kurt, in that, you know, you're surrounded by theists or Christians,
Yeah. Yeah.
a specific type of Christians too in this area.
Mhm.
at all times. And you have to not walk on eggshells, but you kind of have to censor some of the things you say just to keep from having more problems than you're looking for.
Yeah.
And not even just in making a statement, but just in answering simple questions, you know? Like, I get all the time these old women that I cut grass for are like, you should come to my church. And I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll do that. And, you know, like, I feel like that's not a lie because I'm saying maybe I'll do that, but
Exactly.
maybe
Yeah.
I won't. You know, like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's
that was always my dad's big thing. That I only had in my entire life one real conversation with my father. It was long after my mother had died, and he was just asking me, why can't you just like pretend and just go along to get along? You know, just pretend
Fake it
it's
till
not
you make
hurting
it.
anything. Just go along. And I was so mad. And this turned into a shouting match where finally I said, because I care about what's true. You know, I don't want to believe things that aren't true. Truth is probably one of the most important things to me in the whole world. And he was like so shocked, and he walked away. And usually when my dad does that, it's bad news. And the next morning I show up and he's just the nicest guy and got along fine. And I think putting it in that terms of truth versus I don't want to hold ideas or encourage anyone else to hold ideas that demonstrably false ideas.
Yeah.
And I think he kind of got it.
Yeah, no. That's why for me, like something that Aaron says all the time is these are just people pretending to know things they don't know. I think that's why that carries so much weight for me, because that's really just a phrase that makes sense to me. You know, it's like all those years of preachers telling this and that and saying all these things, and people like Otangelo in the chat going on about stuff. Like you're just stating things that you don't actually know to be true as if they are true. And to me, it's not necessarily that, that is a dishonest position, but I don't think it's necessarily intentionally a dishonest position, which intent is a big thing when we're talking about that.
Right.
But I just think that it really opened my eyes to this guy up here talking all this nonsense is the same as me. We put these preachers on pedestals, and there's people like Kenneth Copeland and Swaggerts and all those folks that have been put on these huge pedestals like they are some kind of authority on something. And number one, they're not a Bible scholar, so they're not an authority on that, as if that really matters. But they're just people. They're just other people pretending to know things they don't know to be true.
Mm-hmm.
And that just, to me, was like, okay, I don't need to listen to them. I need to go and take what they say and do some digging on my own and try to come to some kind of understanding of what this is. And for me, it was trying to prove that it not prove, but trying to find information that supported my belief rather than dismissed it at first anyway. And then as I went further and further down that rabbit hole, it was like, I can't honestly say that I think any of this is true anymore. Like, and one of the things too, and other people say this, but I came to this on my own, was I looked at other religions and how they explained the same, set of data. And it's like, okay, well, how do you think that you're right and everybody else is wrong when you have no more information than this other person, just different information,
but then adding concrete numbers like, well, the probability is 10 to the 5,000th power, blah 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 blah. My wife's a statistician, and she always likes to hear that. She just bangs her head on the table.
Yeah, right.
You're just making stuff up. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. It's I don't know. That thing is about statistics. I always love when they start with the statistics about, oh, it's nearly impossible that life just showed up on this planet, and it's such this astronomical statistic. You know why they call it an astronomical statistic? Because the universe is really fucking big.
Really big. And then when you take that into consideration, it's very mundane.
Yeah.
That we're here and life is what it is. And
that statistic of there's a low chance of life existing in this place or whatever. When you apply that to the universe and the size of the universe, it actually makes life quite common,
but that's something that's hard to wrap your brain around until you sit down and actually go through it in your head.
Well, you have one of those arguments of large numbers, where they try to say, well, it's, there's it's 1 to the 500th and 10th power of negative pi.
Right. My Catholic friend and I,
because they make shit up. But
we had a big discussion along those lines, and I said, well, but just about anything. If you think about, say the Earth is only 6,000 years old, like you're saying, even in that amount of time, figure the odds of exactly one sperm and one egg getting together for 6,000 years to make you.
Yeah, right.
You're not really here.
No, yeah.
You can't exist. It's statistically impossible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. So using statistics like that carries, and it doesn't only not carry weight for me, it actually just makes me feel like that you're making a lazy argument, because you're applying statistics without actually thinking about what they mean,
or even understanding the concept.
Well, it's usually I'm repeating something I heard somewhere else.
Right, exactly. Repeating
some wrong
something
thing that
Greg Locke said.
We had Lupin come on the other day and start all this stuff about the moon would actually not be able to be where it's at. It would have flown away from the Earth, and no life would be here because the Earth has to be 6,000 years old and all this other crap. And then Mage comes on with the actual numbers, and it's like, no, actually the moon's right where it's expected to be, and your math is just wrong because you're just repeating some stupid thing you heard on some awful channel, probably. I had a better explanation than that, but I didn't even want to drop anybody's name. So but I don't know. I mean, like, I get that people like who haven't looked at the science and stuff, and haven't looked at the natural explanations for life, the diversity of life, and all those things, which are not absolute and not complete in any way. I get that people who haven't looked at that like to say, well, look at this and it's so amazing, and how do you explain it? And I think it makes sense to look at it and take this position because look at the trees, essentially, is the argument, although they rarely say that anymore. But I get that they're looking for some sort of answer. But then we get back into this God at the gaps thing. It's like you're just trying to fill the gap in your knowledge with a God because of your own incredulity. And
what really makes me upset a lot of times with my friends anyway is they think they have all these facts about evolution and the origins of life or whatever, and not that those are the same subject, but
Yeah.
all these scientific facts, and what they really have is some AIG, apologists, straw man of the
Yeah.
facts.
Right.
And they say, well,
Yeah.
see how easy I can just knock it down. And it's just like, face palm.
Oh, like you think everything came from nothing, that kind of thing?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And I keep
Yeah.
saying, no, you think everything
Yeah.
came from nothing.
Yeah. My answer to that is now, no, I don't think God poofed everything into existence from nothing. And I just leave it at that. But yeah, those, and the thing of it is apologetics has turned, mainstream apologetics has turned from, rather than trying to give reasons of why you should believe in a God and those things, into attacking science and atheism and everything else, because they know now that they have no real argument for a God. That it's all just based on their belief and their faith, and that's fine if you want to believe things based on faith. Just don't make laws or tell my kids they have to believe it, or do anything else based on it, because it's an irrational position at the end of the day.
And now we're seeing, though, more and more and more pushing to get these basically, just kind of do away with the First Amendment.
Yeah, right.
And I always ask my friends when they think all this is a great idea to bring the Bible into schools and all this, and
I'm rolling.
What are you going to do to solve a problem between the two people, even in the same church, when they've got a different interpretation of something they think God wants?
Yeah.
And there's no facts they can turn to. There's no way to figure it. There's absolutely nothing they can do to resolve that, except ask somebody higher up in the church and them tell them. But that's still just a guy telling them what he figures.
There's the answer.
They're pushing for theocracy. Yeah.
Yeah. And
as if that were a good thing,
yeah, as if that's
what makes you think you're going to be at the, at your exact brand of Christianity or whatever is going to be at the top. Well, what about when Muslims outnumber Christians and they say, hey, it's a theocracy. Let's just vote the Muslim religion in.
Yeah. It's kind of funny, because whenever the Christian groups do push for that kind of stuff, to then answer, oh yeah, I accept that. We should make we should make Islam the national religion.
yeah, I've said that.
We'll give you exactly what you're asking for. It seems to be the fastest growing, so they must be right?
Yeah.
So you won't mind converting to that, and it's ridiculous. It's truth and reason, right? I mean, that's where we started. Whenever you use facts and reason to look at your existence, if you want to frame it that way, or life, or the diversity of life, or the universe, or any of those things, it's really, you get to a point to where it's like, oh, I don't need God to explain that, or I don't know the answer, but that doesn't mean God. There's a lot of things that come to mind whenever you start actually using facts and reason to assess the world around you. And it's I wish that, I think that if they want to teach religion in schools, then teach comparative religions. I don't really think they need to do that.
I mean, it won't work that way. They'll kind of hold Christianity up as a, this is the right way, and here's all the wrong ways.
Biased book and a biased. It'll always be biased towards one or the other, which is probably why that's why I say I don't really think they need to do that. But or
Yeah.
or teach a class on religious wars, or
Well,
teach a class on
you know, when I was in junior high, you move to a new school when you're out of elementary school, and I just hooked up with this kid who we're still friends to this day, and his parents were from Pakistan, and that was just like the coolest thing ever. But this was at the time, Jimmy Carter and the whole Iran hostage situation. So this poor guy was not in a real comfortable place to be in our school, and even through high school he got a little bit of crap for that. But when I got to college, I immediately signed up for a class on Islam. I wanted to know what's going on. And my
Yeah.
parents oh my God, they went nuts. And I'm like, oh, he's converting. It's like, what do you mean I'm converting? I just want to know, what's the history of this? What are the facts here? What do they believe?
But see,
I
they
don't
tip
want to
their hand when
believe
they
it.
do that, right?
It was like there was some kind of mutiny or something here.
Yeah.
It's just I just wanted some information that was accurate.
Religions tip their hand when they behave in that way, though, because they display right there that they're scared of you even having knowledge of this other belief system, or that there is a possibility of another belief. When I was raised, I just thought everyone else in the whole world was a young earth creationist. And of course we didn't call it that, but I just thought everybody believed the same thing I did, or they were devil worshippers. Of course, those were your options. And it was always set up and presented that way. And this is before the internet and those are before the widespread use of the internet anyway. But
I loved your video with the old clips from the old videos. I guess it's probably from like the 80s and 90s, where talk about the devil masking and the music played backwards or whatever the things were back then. But we're still hearing that today, and we're still hearing these Satan worshipers want to take it. It's like, yeah, you can call me a Satan worshiper. If it really bugs you, I'll say it. But it's no more real than any of the other choices.
Yeah, you're actually a theist would actually be more of a Satan worshiper than me.
True,
because they believe he exists and I don't,
and that he's an actual God who can tinker with things,
control you and deceive you, especially, which is a whole nother thing. But it's insane in a lot of cases. And but this fear of you even having knowledge of anything other than this is what you're taught, and you don't need to, you're told this is the truth and you don't need to look any further than this. Exactly. And that's why I say all the time, whenever you propose that I have this book that has all the answers in it that was written thousands of years ago, and that a God did it all and is responsible for everything, you kind of stifle your ability to learn anything past that, because
exactly it
you
cuts
have all
off
the answers.
All inquiry stops here.
Yeah.
And and that's how I was raised completely. Yeah. You don't ask the question. And it was such I call it the Great Awakening, when I went to law school and I met Edwin of all people, and it's just like mind blowing, the change. But you have to figure most people never have that opportunity, and they don't have the little cracks in the foundation to start with. And I also think it's very much connected. I don't want to change subjects before you're ready, or if there's an agenda.
No, go ahead, talk about
whatever. But it just kind of like it hooks into just like a dovetail into the whole Trump phenomenon.
Yeah.
Don't believe the facts. Oh my God, you can't possibly believe the facts. There's mountains and mountains of evidence and photos and videos and phone calls and phone logs and recordings. You can't believe any of that.
Yeah.
Don't be ridiculous.
When you say fact checking is a bad thing, you're telling me the thing I need to know right there is that, I don't care about truth or anything like that. Well, again, referring back to the conversation I had with Lupin on this channel, I said, now Lupin, I'm going to give you some information here. And I'm not trying to tell you that you need to believe me or anything that I'm putting forward. But will you at least go look at this paper and then let's have a talk about it? What you gather from it and what it means and the implications that it has. And he just absolutely refused to even look at it. I'm not looking at, well, I don't know if that's the one where he called it propaganda or not, but you know, it's like, if you're gonna put forward any information that contradicts my belief, then it's automatic that information is false.
Right.
And
right.
I have no reason to look at it.
Exactly.
And that's a big difference in at least atheists in this community and theists, because we're willing to look at your claims and whatever you want to call evidence, even though we are for the most part well aware that you're not going to provide any. It's going to be the same old song and dance that, you know.
But don't get upset if you want me to look at your evidence and then I start to dissect it and organize it.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like, oh, you can't do that. I say, well, you know, what do you want? I mean, let's analyze it. Let's sit down and really analyze it. And that's
they don't want to do that either.
They're bold, you know.
They don't want to look at anything you propose, and they don't want to talk about anything they believe. Mm-hmm. They just want to tell you that you should be doing the same thing they're doing because they know the truth and they're right. Which is, once you're outside of it, is one of the craziest things ever. It has me second guessing people sometimes, because it's like, well, that person's a Christian. I'm not sure if I trust their judgment. You know, which is an awful position to be in, but depending on the subject, you know, it's not like that in all things, but it's like, well, if we're talking about science things, I'm not sure. Let me talk to him first, because you never know when it's going to jump off the rails into crazy town, right? Because you know, they'll go, oh yeah, evolution's real. Oh yeah, you know, I accept genetics and old Earth and all of cosmology and all that stuff, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, I've seen a ghost, and it's like, okay.
Well, you know, that's one thing though, where if you talk about like Edwin and stuff, I remember when I first started working for him, and I was just absolutely blown away by this philosophy of question everything. You know, absolutely everything needs to be questioned and tested. And there was something, we always had the TV on in the office, you know, they had the news and stuff on. There was something on there about Bigfoot. And of course, as a little kid, I was fascinated by that, you know, the In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy and the Patty film and all that.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, cool, look at that. And he said, oh, God, some things are so stupid they shouldn't be studied. And I was like so deflated. Not because I really thought Bigfoot was a real thing, but because who knows what we might learn from discover accidentally if we look into things. You know, it's a phenomenon that, okay, maybe it's in everybody's head, but I want to know, why is it in our head?
Or this is where skepticism has value, right?
Yeah, they have to have boundaries, because you can't just say, well, everything's not worth investigating unless I already know it. You know, that's just as bad in my view of as just saying, well, you can't investigate it because we know God said it or God told us that.
Yeah, and you know, if you're all powerful, all knowing, all loving God said this and it's true, then we should look at it, because that's going to lead us to God, right? But this is one of those things where I think theists are a little bit self-aware, that they know that they
Mhm.
deep down are like, well, maybe it's not. Because I know when I was a Christian, like, I got saved, I got baptized, I believed in God, but there were still those times when I was like, yeah, that part doesn't really make much sense. Um, that part, I don't believe that. There was,
Mhm.
um, and I think that an honest theist has to say, you know, yeah, I have these doubts about these things, and I think, rather than putting on this face of no, it's absolutely true and all this. And if that was the case, and whenever we talk about this, I'm never talking about all in a group. It's
Right, right.
this applies to those who it applies to. But the fact that they they don't want you to look at information, they don't want to look at their own beliefs, and that their reaction to things that challenge that in the least, as you know that's why you get things like the Smurfs are satanic
Oh
and
my God, yeah.
Harry Potter is evil. That's why you get those things, is because they can't even take a moment to imagine or suspension of belief long enough to watch a movie, because then they may be doing something wrong, in the eyes of the rest of the hypocrites that are
Yeah.
are part of their social group. So
Talking about that, do you remember, or do you have a certain uh, time when you just stopped going to church? Do you have a recollection of like when that was?
when I got a license,
When you what?
when I got my driver's license,
Okay, what did that have to do with it?
well, I was a football player in high school, and so I was already, missing quite a bit of church. I had been going like 3 times a week up until this point, and when I got a driver's license, then it was I could go hang out with girls and
Oh, okay.
yeah,
So it wasn't like a change of philosophy in your head. It was like girls.
yeah. It was just being a high school young man, just chasing ass.
Okay.
Uh, the and it wasn't anything against the church. In fact, I had many girlfriends that I went to church with them and their
Mhm.
families, and I still went to church sometimes, but it just got. Then it was like, because you kind of go to the like, okay, I don't need to go every week, but saying
Yeah,
the same other
yeah.
shit,
Skip
like,
this week. Yeah,
and then you're like, well, I'll just go on Easter, and I'll go for the special things and this and that. I'll go to the events, and then it's like, well, it's a holiday. I don't feel like fucking with that either.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it was, but I mean, in that time that I stopped going to church, I had already, even while I was going to church, I had seen the old ladies in the front row telling everybody they were going to hell anyway. So I was kind of already in the mindset that religion is good, God is good, but church maybe not so much.
Okay.
And I kind of had a moment in probably my late teens, early 20s, where I was like, I don't agree with churches. Like, I can believe in God, and the Bible says I can worship God, anywhere at any time, in any way, in any number of ways. So going to church isn't in the well in the way we do it now. That's not in the Bible as a thing you have to do,
Hmm.
and it's like so. I felt like that churches were the bad part of religion. That was the deviant part of it, so to speak, I guess, rather than the belief itself. Now, it wasn't until years later. The thing that actually made me to where I was like, oh, I don't believe this, was just facts and reason, right? It was just learning more about science and being taught that some of the things I was told was a lie, and that they just don't comport with reality. And then taking those things and the implications that they have on the world and religion, and then going a step further and looking at other religions and all that stuff. And eventually I just got to the position where I was like, I can't open my mouth and say that any of this is true. Like, I can believe it, and I still did believe it at that time. I can believe that there's a God or whatever, but I don't think that any person on this earth is in a position to say what that God is or what that God wants or anything else other than these books. And they all have their own book that claims to be the truth. So, like, it kind of put me in that position to where I had came up with my own idea of what God and spirituality and all those things. I was kind of hippie for a minute. And, so I thought it was more about, I always said, well, what is the main theme of Christianity that we see in other religions? And love thy neighbor, treat other people as you want to be treated, do good deeds, be good to people, things like that, and I thought my conclusion is that if this God is real, if any part of this is true, even if none of these books are right, but there is a God that exists, if I'm good to other people and live a life of love and treat people well and try to do good things, then if this God wants to fault me for that and burn me in hell for an eternity for that, then I'm not interested anyway. It's
he created you with an acquiring and brain that he doesn't want you to use.
And that's another thing that you hear a lot of atheists talk about is God. If God is all powerful, he could have done it any other way. And this kind of goes into divine hiddenness. And if that God chose to make me an atheist or whatever, or that God chose to make me however from a child, knowing that I would become an atheist because all knowing, and then that God either wanted me to be an atheist, doesn't care if I believe or not, or possibly isn't real. And rather than trying to assign things to the mind of God, I realized that man wasn't created in God's image. God was created in man's image. And we built a God on our ideal of perfection, because perfection isn't actually an achievable thing. Everything is perfect, because however you are is exactly how it's supposed to be, right?
Sure.
So perfect is kind of one of those terms that doesn't really mean anything. And we tried to take, when I say we, humans, we tried to look at the things that we lack and those things we are weak in, or the flaws that we have, and then think of a being that didn't have those flaws. And there must be someone out there better, like sometimes I think dirty thoughts. There must be someone who doesn't,
sometimes.
Yeah. And yeah, right. And, so I feel like that this, because, hubris is a thing in humanity, and we add a lot of weight to, oh, I'm something special, and this universe is made for me, and all those things. Like, humans do that, but there's no whenever you take that away from it and try to look at it just with an open mind, you have to discard that. And at that point, it's like, oh, I get what's going on here. Like, people are defining God into existence based on their own flaws
Yeah.
and calling that perfect. You know.
That's interesting because, I mean, if I kind of think about it, I had almost the opposite situation of when I was a little kid. My parents were, real big on education and science and all that, and they didn't want to stifle that out of me. So that kind of questioning had always been there.
Yeah.
But when I was 12, I was supposed to start confirmation classes in the Lutheran church. I think it was 12 through 14, something like that. And so because of my previous questioning, I had always been kind of in trouble with the Sunday school teachers, and so mom has to come talk after Sunday school. That was always bad news. But she said, all right, look, I'm tired of this fighting and bickering all the time about you don't want to go to church. I'll make a deal with you. You go to your confirmation classes. So it's like Tuesday, Thursday evenings after school. I go to confirmation class. We eat dinner all together, and then we go Sunday. And it's when you get confirmed, then you're old enough to make your own decision. And I'm like, okay. And I was a good student, so they put me in confirmation classes. I was actually studying this stuff.
Yeah.
And I started to realize that, like, the thicker and heavier that I laid some of this crapola on there in essays and things that we did for, assignments, the more it was approved of. And they would show my parents how well I was doing and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, well, but that's not. And then you start applying that when you really actually have to sit there and read the Bible, actually read it, which, my parents, neither one of them had ever done. And so I got confirmed, and big ceremony at church and everything. And that was the last day I went.
Yeah.
14.
Yeah. Finally, it was over, huh?
The struggle wasn't over yet. But,
No
my
doubt.
mom was absolutely horrified. My friends were like, oh, right. Yeah, just go until you get confirmed and then never go again. Like, oh, sorry, but that was the deal,
So that view that I gave you of like looking for answers to flaws and stuff in humanity, one of the genius things about religion, especially modern religion, is the introduction of Satan. Because like if we go back to like the polytheistic, the Greek gods and things like that. Did you see that orb fly through here?
I thought it was a ghost.
Yeah, it was. That was the ghost of my grandmother. She's telling me to stop talking about Jesus. But so like in Greek mythology, right? Hades controlled the underworld, and Hades was kind of a scary person or whatever, but it wasn't the root of all evil. All the gods were into a little bit of evil, right? They all did horrible things.
Yeah. I love the Norse gods, Loki,
Yeah.
Just screwing with people just for fun kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And some were more mischievous than others, but the reason, whenever religion created the Satan character, and whatever religion you have, not all of them have that, but just about all have some kind of evil deity, there was a need for that too, right? Because accountability. Nobody wants to admit they're wrong. Nobody wants to say that, I did this wrong thing because I'm a bad person, or I make bad choices, or any of those things, right? So instead of having to ever face that, the religion allows them to say there is this character, Satan, that makes you do these things, and Satan controls you, and you're innocent. You just fell for the temptations of Satan. And it allows people to take accountability off of themselves and then put it, Satan did that. But I'm trying to fix it. I'm a good person because I'm praying to God to fix that. And religion doesn't work if there's just a promise of bliss for eternity kissing Jesus's ass. It doesn't work with that. You have to also have threat
it
of
also
burning in
doesn't
hell.
it also doesn't work the other way though, because one of the things that really bugged me when I was going through this confirmation class in church and everything was like Hitler could repent at the very last second of his life and say, you know, oh, I accept Jesus and I'm so sorry I did this stuff, and he goes straight to heaven.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, all these millions of people that he killed, well, probably half of them were really well, first of all, they're going to be a different religion from what I was raised. So, you know, they're going to hell, and they might have been perfectly decent, good people. There's no justice in that either.
To the wrong God.
Yeah, you believe in the wrong
or
God.
They wore mixed threads.
I mean, I combine, yeah. Cotton poly blend, you know.
Yeah.
Thou shalt not wear polyester and cotton.
They ate shellfish, them fucking assholes. But yeah, it's silly when you think about it, because if and that's the example I used when I talked to my mom. I said, so I want to set up a scenario for you. We have this person who's committed all these crimes against children, has killed people, has done every awful thing you can imagine over and over every day of their life, and they're on death row in prison. And the day before they're executed, they pray to God, and they're truly sorry. They really mean it. They're really sorry for what they did, and they accept Jesus Christ as their Savior. They go to heaven. That's the rules. That's how it works. But you have a person who's lived, you know, as good a life as possible, has taken accountability for their actions and the things they've done wrong. They're truly sorry for, but they haven't prayed to a God about it, and they don't believe in Jesus. One of those people goes to heaven and the other goes to hell. Is that just? Is that merciful? Is that any of the things that God is supposed to be? Is that all loving? Like, it's none of those things. And to put forth this idea that these things are true, and that there's these infinite punishments for finite crimes, is just ridiculous on the face of it. It's just stupid. And it's not just stupid like, oh, I'm saying, oh, well, that's a dumb idea. No, it's like, it is incoherent nonsense.
And it's dangerous. It's societally dangerous. You know, it's just, I don't know, but I guess it all comes back to that same question we talked about, like the first time we talked was, you know, is genetics involved? Because all of my friends that I grew up with in virtually identical type of households and everything else, they're still very religious, and it bothers them no end. You know, they're always praying for me, and it's like, I don't know why, and I don't know. Maybe, you know, that's why I always think maybe I'm the one who's wrong. You know, when you're always that odd guy out, you know, you have to question whether you're insane.
See, my position though is, can I really be wrong by just being skeptical of something, by asking questions? Like, can that be the wrong position? I don't think you can make an argument that, or anyone can make an argument that it's right to blindly believe in anything. Like, but that's what's required of religion. And
well, they don't see it that way though, because
they don't see
this mountain of evidence in the you know, the miracles in the Bible and all these.
Look at the trees.
So,
but
you know.
And my favorite thing is, okay, why do you believe in God? Well, just look around you. And I'm like, okay, look around you with ignorance, or look around you with, you know, curiosity, and look for the actual answers.
Yeah.
You know, and that brings you right back to that. You have a book that tells you have the answer to everything. So when you look around with that presupposition that that book is true, then yeah, you get that. But if you look around, without that presupposition anyway, and you're actually looking at it with curiosity and things, you're never going to get to the position that a God exists. You're never going to do that. It takes culture, indoctrination, influence, all of those things it takes for you to get to that position. There is no natural way. Let's pretend somebody's born on an island out in the middle of the ocean and they're never exposed to religion. They're never going to come to the conclusion that God exists. That's not going to happen. And there's a reason for that.
I don't know though. I mean, if you're all alone on a desert island and maybe biologically and just from genetics of evolution, maybe our brains are kind of, they kind of have something like that built in where you assign agency to things you can't understand. Like, well, where does the wind come from? Well, there's probably a guy making it over there somewhere.
When I say a God exists, I meant any of the.
Oh, you mean like, yeah, the previously proposed ones.
Yeah, they're never going to come to that conclusion. Sure, they might assign some supernatural reasoning to the world around them based on the things that they know, which is what we see in history, is that people assign, they assign things to it based on the common knowledge of the time. That's why we thought Apollo carried the sun across the sky and, all those things. It's, you're just never going to come to the conclusion that the Christian God or Allah or any of those, you're never going to come to that conclusion. And of course, there's no real way to test this ethically, but I think it's common sense that you're, that it requires these things. And that brings up other questions about, religion, about what about those people that are ignorant to these things. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Isa, but Islam actually gives an out for people who are just never exposed to the religion itself. Christianity, not so much, but you're muted. You were muted. You're still muted. Maybe he's not talking to me then. He does a lot of other stuff while he's doing this, so he's probably not even talking to us.
Okay.
But yeah.
I didn't know Islam in what way gives you. I mean, I know they have an affirmative duty to kill the infidels.
There's a verse somewhere that talks about people who don't know of the teachings of Islam are in some way. I don't remember. I'm not as familiar with Islam. I don't want to straw man the whole thing, but I thought there was a verse that excuses people who were uninformed of it for whatever reason.
Well, that's a little more fair than Christianity.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of an accident of birth. Oh,
yeah.
It's just dumb luck. I got plopped down right here in Cincinnati, Ohio, where I just fit perfectly with the one God.
If you were born in the Middle East, you're going to hell. Woohoo! Yeah, that kind of takes away some of those free will arguments, doesn't it?
It's just so. I mean, to this day, I have friends who won't entertain that option. I even asked one of my friends, who's very, very religious, very Christian, and I said, well, what do you think would happen if you would have been born, let's say in Pakistan, to a very fundamentalist Muslim family and you're raised up in that religion? And he's like, oh, I know exactly what would happen. I would find Jesus Christ because, there's no way I could not find Jesus in my life. It's like, Are you? I mean, come on. That is so dishonest. That is so just unspeakably dishonest. Yeah, and that's kind of what really bugs me about the whole thing is the self deception. And even what I usually call like cultivated intentional ignorance.
Yeah.
Like, you can't make me. Oh, that's the Aaron Ra was saying that, where it really kind of clicked in my head too, where he was saying he's giving someone facts and they just close their eyes and hold their hands over there. No, you can't give me the facts, you know.
Yeah.
And I see that so much in Kentucky, just
that's
overwhelmingly.
Yeah. You can say, like, because especially like I'm among a lot of young earth creationists, and you know, they'll say something like, you know, evolution is not true. Well, actually, this is Kentucky. They say, I didn't come from no damn monkey. That's usually what they actually say.
My grandfather wasn't a monkey.
Right. You trying to say my grandpappy was a monkey? It's usually something more like that. And it's like, well, nobody's claiming that, but if you would like, I can explain to you like how this works and why small changes over time lead to the outcome that we see. And they're like, oh, I'm not interested in none of that. I got Jesus. You know, it's like exactly what you're saying. They're unwilling to even listen to any facts or reason in some cases. Again, not always, and not all theists. None of this ever applies to everybody. It's you know, I guess it's a stereotype on my part, but
yeah, it just gets very disheartening when you see people actively striving to remain as ignorant as possible, no matter how many facts you can mound up for them. Easy, simple facts to start with, and it's like, nope. There's nothing anybody can say to make me change my mind. And it's like, well, then there's no conversation to be had, is there?
Yeah. You know? Aaron Reese thinks that I've clickbaited him because there was a dog in the thumbnail, and there's been no dog.
That's Rocky. That's my best buddy.
He's not telling the truth. It's Photoshop.
No, he's not here. I locked him out of my office but he's got a spot right on the floor here by my desk, where he usually is.
But let's kind of take all this and circle it back around to why, or not why, but to this thing of, you know, you're trying to interact with the atheist community, and now you're here to meet people and kind of expand your social group in that area anyway. And, you know, as people, and I can relate to this, and this is probably why you and I, we've talked outside of this stream, and why you and I can get along so well about that is because we understand that being from these areas and stuff, being an atheist is can be a very solitary lifestyle in many situations and in many ways. So, you know, one of the things that I've said, from, you can go back and watch my live streams from the very beginning, is that I wanted to provide a safe place for, you know, people who had questions, or even like-minded people who wanted to come and talk about these kind of things without worry of being judged and ridiculed and all those things for not believing in something that you can't really identify any support to believe in, you know. And it gives you this, sure, you can make friends with theists and interact and be civil and all those things, but, you know, whenever you have to watch the things that you say and what subjects you bring up in these areas specifically, like, you know, where you're from and where I'm from, it leads to a kindly lonely position sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's good to have a community of people that you can be yourself and talk about the things and laugh about these. Like some of the jokes we make on here about religion and stuff would be completely inappropriate in a public setting, especially in the Bible Belt. You know, I would probably make the local news. You know,
or you'd be a
so
statistic in the
yeah,
crime.
yeah. Or get my ass kicked and go to jail for it. You know, so that's why it's so important for people who are like, hey, I want to interact with the atheist community and get to know some of the people, and because I can tell you, like, the people who come to most of my streams and hang out most of the time. Spooky Aaron's been more common here of recent, but still the same. Spooky and Michael and both Michaels for that matter. Pragmatic Crystal, my sidekicks Azo and Robin. Maya comes and hangs out a lot. I haven't seen her yet today though. And everything's better with Big D, and you know, all of those things. You know, like these Al Trucker's a good friend of mine from Canada. That I've met through here and just joined the stream actually. But can I add him? What's going on? Hello, Al Trucker.
Hello, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Hold on, Al. Let me see if I can reenact this before you go any further.
Okay, reenact it.
Okay. You're supposed to pass me on the right, you stupid motherfucker.
Yeah, that's pretty much right. Fucking moron. Fucking suicidal piece of shit Tesla driver. Jesus fucking Christ. Is that what you guys heard?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it might happen again. I rode my bike down to downtown Toronto. Now I'm going home because I got work first thing in the morning. But my buddy's on his deathbed right now, and I just went to go visit him. So
well,
I'm here for a happier conversation. How's that sound?
Yeah. I hate to hear that, but yeah, I'm glad you stopped by.
Me too. Hopefully you can hear me. Okay, I'm on this mic has been all over the place, so I'm gonna see how it is today.
You're very loud and clear.
Loud and clear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that ain't never been something I've been accused of before. Anyway, I missed almost the whole show up to this point. So hopefully I'll have something to add, despite the fact I got no fucking clue what's going on.
Well, so I'll fill you in a little bit here. Kurt has been an atheist for quite a while, but due to his career and things, was really unable to join in the community part of it and the activism side of it. And now he's retired and wants to get to know more members of the atheist community and stuff, and likes the things that he sees online, but wants to interact with people, you know. And
hello, social monkeys, you know.
Yeah, social monkeys. So, will you be my monkey, Al? I think we lost Al. Somebody must have passed him on the wrong side. But yeah, it's but again, also, like, in the atheist community, like, there are theists who hang out and are willing to have conversations, and you know, people like Issa and Mark Stoney, although I, you know, strongly disagree with his position, you know, he's willing to talk about it and have those conversations. And it's sometimes there's a personal value, not just, missing mod's one of them. There's you know, some kind of satisfaction to actually being able to not argue about it, but to just be
Mhm.
like, hey, like, what do you think about this? Because this is how I feel about it, and get an honest answer, rather than
Yeah.
a verse or an argument or something of that sort. I would rather hear more about a belief than your argument. What's up, Nitty?
Hey, I figured I'd bring some more levity to the stream. Why not?
always, always welcome.
Yeah,
How you been?
I'm all right. Decent work day. Just went on like a 15-mile bike ride. Relaxing now.
Yeah,
That's what I do.
Yeah.
That's how I do.
Bike
15
ride. What
mile
kind of
bike ride.
bike? Like
Yeah.
a pedal bike or a motorcycle bike?
I'll have you guess.
I couldn't tell you. If it were me,
Bicycle.
I mean, it's like for crying out loud. We know how a motor works.
Do I look like I ride motorcycles? Let's start there.
Probably not. But see, I try not to make decisions based on appearances.
I try to exercise every day. So
I do too, and I think maybe that's what's killing me.
What's up, Jez?
So-
After a 15-mile bike ride, relaxing would be the last thing that I would be able to do.
I just
It would
ate.
be screaming in agony.
I just ate an entire Sbarro cheese bread.
Oh well,
Like
there
it
you
fills
go.
a
That's
pizza
more,
box.
that's
It's
more up my
basically like
alley.
an entire small pizza. It
Yeah,
was good.
yeah.
Yeah.
We have a Sbarro's here. I don't like it, but
I hope you don't mind. I'm streaming this to my channel too, and I called it KY Jelly. So there we go. Right?
Is this a poke at me for being fat? Is that are you body shaming me? I'm just
Calling it
joking.
KY Jelly?
Yeah.
No, that's a
It-
sex lubricant.
So I'm a sex lubricant now.
No, you don't understand. I'm on KY's channel because I'm the KY.
Oh. Well,
Yeah.
no, that's cool. I don't mind. That's I'll leave it open for anybody that wants to do that to do it. I will lubricate you on any channel you wish.
Look, I can prime us for a deep insertion of theology and discussion at any time. You just watch out.
Awesome.
So the title of the stream is KY Esquire Kurt wants to meet you. So why do you want to meet us? I mean, do we really look that delicious that you got to have a little piece? Like what's going on here?
No, it's just because these questions have been in my head since my earliest memories are being a junior zoologist and going to the the herpetology club and taking my garter snake and things like that, and going through life. It was darn near impossible to live in Kentucky and be an out of the closet atheist, and I'm retired now, and it's like I can grow a beard, and my parents are dead, so this is all good news.
Okay.
So that's why I'm here. I'm a social monkey, and I want to meet other monkeys.
Good. All right. Welcome to fellow silly place.
Well,
My
thank
place
you.
is
I'm
silly
I'm
and-
looking forward to getting to know everybody and
Okay.
hopefully make it a little easier for other people. I know there's lots of other people in the same condition that I am, that have had to keep it quiet. My next door neighbors, for example. Oops, I shouldn't have said that, because I'd identify them with other neighbors.
Give us
but
your street address
know-
and zip code, and then
other people have the same issues that I did, where you had to keep it quiet.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's Kurt and I talked a little bit beforehand through email, and then we sat down and had like a hangout talk and stuff. And I think we both had a lot of the same experience, that in this area specifically, like the rural Kentucky, that it was just the YouTube, holy shit.
Are you on the tube?
I'm on the YouTube.
The YouTube. Yes.
you know, social media and YouTube specifically allows you to have a social life with some like-minded people, or
Yeah.
to talk about these issues in a way that's not going to get your ass kicked or a cross burnt in your front yard or something like that. And because those are things that really happen. And
No,
Yeah.
I'm serious.
yeah. So
if someone took real issue with you not believing in Jesus, they would.
oh yeah,
There's a potential they'd burn a cross in your yard.
it's a possibility. Yeah, I would say that's an extreme, but people would definitely behave badly in more ways than just arguing with you in this area, especially
Jeez.
with the title of like saying that you're trying to promote things like science and speaking up and arguing with people about evolution and saying things like Noah's Ark is a fairy tale. Yeah, that can cause a violent reaction.
Mhm. Or I
Yeah.
think even worse is like advocating for equal rights for people of, different genders or
Right.
whatever. I mean, in Kentucky, that could get you killed in a bar if you said, it's like, hey, well, what's wrong with the two guys getting married? How's that affect you? Just that little
Right.
thing.
Yeah,
That's wild.
it's not. So yeah, like, and that's why it's been one of my big things about. I really like the community part of it, and I say all the time, this is much of my social life. Talking to other atheists and stuff on YouTube, and while I really don't give a shit about arguing with Christians about the things they believe and stuff, like, I'll have that conversation. I'll talk to
Sure.
anybody who wants to have an honest conversation, but it's
Mhm.
just not my priority. It's more about, talking with other atheists about the things we do share in common, the things we don't, and all that. And why I feature atheists on my show more often than theists, because I feel like it does more to normalize that community,
Yeah. Yeah. I enjoy it.
Did I end up back?
Oh.
Yeah. You haven't left, if
Did
that's
it-
what you're asking.
Did I have my entire phone conversation on here?
No.
No.
Well, that's good. That's good, because that was a wild conversation with my son asking me about fish stick lips.
God.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah. My son's on the spectrum. He's got some interesting ideas, which are often pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, right in the middle of Joe telling me what's going on, my wife and my son called, and the call just picked up, and I wasn't here anymore. So I missed everything, but I heard Joe talking about how many great atheists he has on his show, and he's right. Except for me, all of them are great.
Can't even drive a truck.
I can drive a truck, but
No, I'm patronizing you.
oh, okay.
So, go on.
Well, I don't need to go on. I went on at length yesterday, and I think everybody's tired of hearing from me. But I can't sit in the side chat and ride my motorcycle. So it's kind of like this is my in between.
It was actually Nitty and B.S. Lewis talking about some of the stuff that was said over the course of that stream.
Yeah, but the Trinity, I tried to back up Stoney on that one as best I could. I gave him one reasonable mathematical out, and I gave him one reasonable quantum physics out, and everyone said they were heretical, and I was like, I can't be a heretic if I'm a fucking atheist. Nobody liked that answer either.
Yeah.
I
So that
tried
was
too.
what we were like. Yeah.
I tried.
Yeah, Nitty, you tried hard. And I listened.
Yeah.
I actually listened to a bunch of B.S. Lewis's stream because I was super curious what people said. It sounds like everybody just really enjoyed the part where I lost my fucking shit.
Well, I waited 20 minutes for that part. Like,
Yeah.
I know.
less about listening to the Trinity. It was
Yeah.
Yes,
Al
really
Tucker's
edged
gonna lose
us
his
on
shit
that.
in a minute.
Maybe I
Yeah.
should have had my fucking flip out on the Trinity nonsense first, and then lost it on the Tesla driver who tried to like run into the back of my trailer.
Yeah.
And then
Everyone's
flip-
hungry for a dumpster fire.
Well, yeah, well, and the conversation I had with Mr. Bubblegum was
Oh
a
my
dumpster
goodness.
fire,
Oh man.
start to finish, and he kept on trying to tell me I'd agreed to shit. I explicitly said several times I wasn't agreeing to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just don't touch the bubble butt.
Don't
I
touch this
can't.
bubble guy. Yeah,
I can't.
I
do
mean
it.
a bubble butt is different, but I wouldn't touch Bubblegum's butt. That's for sure.
I guess associating the two does shame to a real bubble butt, so I should.
No, you know what I do. I understand the thinking because the arguments did seem to come from that general neck of the woods.
Right.
You know.
I couldn't understand you. All I heard was. Can you try again?
Was that all you heard from me just now? Are you talking about bubble?
I just love
Bubblegum.
doing that. I like doing that to people.
You like that? Okay.
Oh, I like.
I mean,
love it.
I can't argue with loving it.
So, Esquire, can you tell me like when, for you, was like the breaking point in your life where you're just like, ah, shit, I don't think I can.
Well, I mean,
ride the
we
Christian
just
train
touched on it
anymore.
a little bit.
I missed
ago.
that part. I was outside, you know.
No. I don't know. Were you here or not? When we were talking about, my mom made a deal with me when I was 12. If I'd go to 2 years of confirmation class, then I could make my own decisions. And then I actually, read the Bible, did the homework assignments and the essays and all this stuff. And so confirmation on Sunday when I was 14 was the last time I went to church, other than for a funeral or something. But yeah, that was it.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. I mean, so there's like a day, there's like a specific day when I said, okay, my deal's fulfilled, offer, acceptance, consummation.
Okay.
But it's, it's much longer process than that, as far as trying to live in a world where, you're a kid and you're, or even an adult really, and you're trying to survive in a world where if you even mention the fact that you've got some questions, well, people are pretty hateful. I mean, let's just say it how it is,
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's go ahead, Nitty.
So in where you are though, would it be fair to say that in the more rural areas there is a strong sense of identity with Christianity, but not great practice of the values of it? So here's what I see in my wife's like rural setting, and I'm not saying this is all rural Christians or something like that, but they too, like, they got crosses everywhere. They gift my kids Bible stuff with Jesus on it for Easter, like, eat up the chocolate Jesus.
I got crosses everywhere too.
They some of them go to church every weekend. However, the urban, like, firebrand, serious business, Christians would be like, dude, you guys are sleeping with each other all the time. You're not married.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that your, husband left you and you had a divorce. Like, you're having outside of marriage sex. You're drunk as hell every weekend at the pub. You watch basically porn movies, but not really porn. But like,
and Trump is the next Jesus.
I know, right? You just commit idolatry like all the time. And so like all these, like, most of the YouTube Christians and apologists are like, dude, that's not it. You know what I mean? So here's my thing. Here's where I'm going. Do you find that to be the case where you are at all?
I do a lot. Not, I would say, not always, but probably more often than not. And I guess that's probably the whole thing with, like, just cognitive dissonance. You know, can you hold two conflicting ideas in your head at the same time? And that's kind of what most religious people around me seem to do.
Yeah. No, it might be in part of the. I'm just psychologizing like groups of people, right? Maybe it is like the disparate people. They can't be as tight of a community, like they can on Sunday, but like throughout the week, it's like bored, right?
Yeah.
Except the pub, right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Maybe that's probably not everywhere. But here's the other thing that I'm wondering: is it easier to be a non-believer when there is so much nominalness around you? Does that kind of make sense? Like,
Yeah,
you don't
it
have to
makes sense.
necessarily
I never thought
say,
of it that way, you know, but because my non-believing just started so early in my life, and it was more to do with, this makes no sense. And I mean, literally my Sunday school teachers would cry, like literally tears, like, Jesus loves you so much and he died and was tortured for you. And I'm like, yeah, but only for 3 days. You know, why were they not seeing this? You know, I'm 7. I shouldn't be pointing this out to you, you know.
Can I address your question as well, since I'm kind of in a similar boat? Maybe.
Yeah.
It was later in my life whenever I gave up, you know, Christianity and admitted I was an atheist. But it wasn't the things that people do that wouldn't agree with what most would call Christian values, I guess, is what you're kind of driving at there, like the hate and stuff like that. That I was part of that. Like, my family was racist. They were, you know, they were bigots about all kinds of things, and I thought that's how you were supposed to be. Good Christian people are that way. So it was never that behavior that drove me away from it, but it was whenever I had to reconcile the facts and things that I was learning in like college with my belief, then it gave me a different perspective at looking at the actions and behavior of the particular social group that I had been raised in. So now I don't think I would have continued to believe that those things were okay, but that didn't have as much to do with me saying, you know, me disagreeing with Christianity or becoming an atheist, as the information and stuff did. But it's at the same time though, it's like you look at those things from the outside at that point, and it's like, okay, these people are this way because of a belief that they don't really understand. They're just told how to do it in church on Sunday, and then, you know, they're all Jesus on Sunday and something else through the rest of the week, right?
Right.
And sure, that's a problem looking at it now, but from the inside, you don't really see it that way. Like, you think that's how people just are. Like, you know, it's like a cultural thing, I guess.
Yeah, so it's like your social norm ethics, right? You in my form, maybe I'll get into this on Sunday some, but in my former culty church, it's like there are certain things we do and just take for granted, and we think they're acceptable and moral just because it's what everyone else has been doing, and like it doesn't really seem to cause any dysfunction among us. No one in the group really has problems with it. So I mean, oh wait, somebody outside doesn't like this? Well, I mean, this is just how we are. Don't you just see? This is wholesome Christian community. I mean, my goodness. And so with what you guys are saying, I think it is where I've kind of placed it. It's that it's more about having a shared group identity to latch onto, to like feel like you're a part of the whole and all that stuff.
Yeah.
but
being
without
in the
like
group
this.
kind of thing.
Yeah. It's like, yeah,
in the club.
Yeah, well, yeah, and the naughty and distasteful things are just things that have been there, and haven't been addressed as a problem in a way that works.
Yeah, I mean, when you meet someone here locally, the first question isn't what do you do for a living, or what did you go to college for, or anything like that. It's what church do you go to.
Really?
Yeah. I know it's strange, right?
It seems strange to me because like that doesn't happen here in our culture,
city, no.
But the culture, and I'm not from the city. I'm from a rural. Well, I'm originally from a city, but I live in a rural area. But in the rural area, like people one thing people don't generally talk about is what the religion is in our culture here. But our culture is a different one because we're in a different country where we just do things differently. And even though we have these huge swaths of our community and very close to where I live, and the religious cult that I'm from exists in large numbers, but it's still it's I don't know, it's still something people just don't talk about.
Yeah.
And I find that interesting that that's how like you'd engage in a conversation, like in your everyday life.
I don't know. People here, I find, always just assume that I'm in the club. I mean, one thing that really bugs me all the time, and I've got a lot of medical issues, always have, and part of the reason I'm retired now. Mm-hmm. But I'll call down to the infusion center at the hospital, and they're very nice and all of that, but it's always, this is University Hospital, okay? No religious affiliation. And it's, have a blessed day, and that kind of thing. They just assume that I'm in the club, and it builds up. It's part of the sludge, the sediment in the pond, those little things.
Yeah.
And I've heard that even in, I've heard that just like when I go shopping in that country, the USA, I'm assuming we're talking about. I have a blessed day is something I now have heard a dozen times at least, just like buying a burger, buying a pair of shoes, buying a coffee, and I mean, I don't mind having a blessed day. I just don't know how I'm going to, but maybe BBH will come and explain it to me.
Is it like a command or a?
Well, it does sound like a little bit like I don't have a choice, but we say have a good one around here, which means if we said have a great day or have an excellent day or something, like there's a lot of pent up sort of like expectation there, like, and having a day that's like been blessed by like some sort of a deity. I mean, that's a lot for an atheist to accomplish.
Right. I mean, it's very passive aggressive in my view. It's it's a shock.
Yeah. It could be, and it may not be intended that way. I'm assuming most people intend it in a good way, but there might be like a little bit of like, well, if they aren't in my club, maybe they'll join it because I said this to them. And that I wonder if that's in there somewhere, but I also try to see the good in people first, but I get it.
Yeah.
I think there's this, especially in the South in the United States and in Kentucky for sure, there's like this prideful redneck culture that America, and so there's almost it's almost like they're looking for acceptance into the group by being as vile and awful as possible to those that don't agree with their point of view. So and I think that pushes a lot of that. Again, it's about exclusion. It's about, I'm entitled to something better than you, and you can't have it because you're not as good as me, and when you combine that with that, I think that results in a lot of the behavior and stuff that we're talking about.
Well, yeah, because you're talking about something where there's something behind, like when I come and visit, it's a curiosity. you're living it every day. It's way more than a curiosity, because you've experienced everything else that goes with. If you were part of a church and deconverted, you've experienced the loss of connections that come with that, which seem to be like one of the things in all religions and cults seem to all have that in common. I'm not necessarily saying every religion is a cult. I know that's maybe up for debate, but these same techniques are used, and they're very, very insidious, because they cut people off from their families, they cut people off from their social network, sometimes their jobs, sometimes all sorts of things are tied into this idea that you have the support of this club or this group that you're part of, like you say. And then when people are saying things to you that hearken to that, or like are a nod to that, especially when the stuff you guys are talking about with like the implicit racism and bigotry with it, and that it's okay because like that's just what we do here, like that kind of thinking is bad for humanity, but seen as a great thing, right? Like that's terrible. That's not the way things ought to be. Yeah,
it's just taken for granted too.
I think somebody could literally drop the N-word in most social settings around here, and nobody would bat an eye.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find that like wildly strange here.
But
Welcome
see, for me, like, and I don't mean to make it seem like I live some extreme, life or whatever because I'm from Eastern Kentucky. That's not the point. I talk about these things because when I talk to other people about them, they're always like, well, that's so crazy and all that. And I'm like, really? Because that's like normal. That's what I see when I look around here. And I don't agree with those things. I've always felt like out of place where I'm at, and so that's why I have those discussions about those things, not to create like
Joe.
Yeah.
Do you guys, and the rest of you too, I find that having been raised that way, I'm so programmed that if I hear a conversation or something and I'm not really thinking, and I'll just kind of still default to, oh, well, yeah. And then I'll kind of catch myself. And I don't know, if that's just something with me, or is that something that I don't know, that lots of people deal with kind of forever, or let's go away, or
I mean, I think that Kentucky, this part of Kentucky, is definitely progressed from where it was just a handful of years ago.
Yeah.
I think things are getting better and more acceptance and more tolerance and all those things are happening, which is great. But there's still a lot of that, well, I'm going to be this way because I'm a redneck from Kentucky and I'm proud of it, and Trump, blah, 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 Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus. And, it's so I've made it a point to speak up sometimes and say something, because I feel like that exact thing you're talking about, that they're never challenged on those ideas.
Yeah.
So they think they're okay.
They're never challenged.
And so I make it a point sometimes to do that. And sometimes with a little bit of, not knowing what the outcome is going to be of speaking up in some settings, but I've learned that you have to be careful, because there's a lot of uneducated people around here, and they don't like for you to demonstrate how uneducated they are, and nobody does. But whenever you start pointing out those things and why what you're saying is ridiculous and not just hateful, but you're a fucking idiot. Like, whenever you start pointing those things out, it sometimes I think they need challenged on those things, and they don't ever get it because they're so ingrained in their own little social group, and they've never been anywhere else or or
Yeah.
done anything else, you know. But
And for
worked on
heaven's
the farm.
sakes, you know, if it's so ingrained in me that sometimes I don't even catch myself, if you're not even trying to catch yourself, you know,
Right.
it's well,
Yeah.
of course it's gonna be right
I
out
mean,
Yeah.
here
some
in
people
front.
think
Yeah.
that it's cool and stuff to say awful
of
things
course.
about the LGBTQ community or people of other races or backgrounds. You know, to talk shit about Jews or any group. Pick something that's
Mm.
not a white person from the South, and they think that
Yeah.
not only
It's
is
a
it
target,
acceptable,
and it's coming for us.
but yeah,
Oh
right.
fuck.
You know, and to whenever you voice out loud that no, that's not cool and that's not socially acceptable, it's sometimes interesting to see the reaction, because it's not always what you think it may be. It's not always violence or hatred. You know, sometimes they're like, "Look, man, I'm sorry. I just say that because
Yeah.
everybody else does, and that's how people talk, and I don't
And,
really
and
feel
it's
that
the
way."
tough
And
guy sometimes too, you know.
yeah, there's a lot of
Hey,
that. Because,
I'm a tough guy. And,
you know, they have to make
Yeah.
up for the lack of education with something else, and
yeah.
I don't understand how they think that being an intolerant bigot somehow makes you tough. It makes you a fucking asshole. Is what it makes you.
Well,
And
see,
like I would say that you know, you meet a guy like Joe who's like, you know, a very kind and nice guy, but he's met a few real tough guys in his life, and I think he knows that just being a fucking jerk doesn't make you a tough guy, but standing up for something that fucking matters fucking does.
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
But that's hard to do. I mean, it's really hard
Well,
to do.
that's where you separate off from.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you
like I said before, it's the community of normalized behavior.
Right.
And so
Right. And if it's acceptable in your community, well, you fit in.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's built in that if you're, it's that typical, you know, lemming type of, even though lemmings aren't really entirely like that, that misconceived idea of being a lemming or a sheep, right? And if you stray too far in your behavior, you will get this sense that, hey, wait a minute, if I go this way, then I'm not going to be able to, or not, I'm going to be out of step with, or it's not going to be
cool
excluded for me to say. Exactly. Or it's just not going to be cool for me to say this thing out loud. Right.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
and that's, and it's even, it's innate, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think you see it in all social groups, just with different behaviors, of course, you know. And it might even be more cultural than social, but if that makes sense.
I actually think about this a lot with the deconstruction or deconversion movement. And one of the reasons I think that it can be scary, that I don't think a lot of people talk about, is that in some religious circles, there are varying degrees to which not believing or not being in your church, there are varying degrees to which that's demonized or otherized, right? Yeah. So some churches are like, well, I mean, if you're not here, like, please follow Jesus. You know, it's not a big deal. Like, do you still love God?
I'll be praying for you.
Yeah, you know, we could still be friends, right? We just don't go to the same church. It's whatever. But then there's others who are like, no, we are the best goddamn church. Like, don't you go messing around with no, you know, Methodist heathens. You know what I mean? And if you don't believe, oh my goodness, like, you are an apostate, you are an infidel, you know. And what was I trying to say? Oh yeah. So when you start to lose, or you are no longer convinced of what everyone else believes, you have this deep internal resistance to becoming that other.
Yeah.
Right? Because now you're starting to change in a way that it's almost like you're turning into a xenomorph in the mirror. You're just like, oh my God, I don't know who this is. I'm gonna be the alien.
Yeah,
right?
no,
And then you wake up and you go, oh shit, I'm the alien, right? And it's like, well, I can try and hide, this thing that I feel like I am, and that's no fun. Can perform a lie, right?
Let me give you a metaphor that works, at least for me. So I was once a drug addict, right? Well, I'm a drug addict. I just haven't been actively on drugs for like 10 years. And when I quit doing drugs, all of my friends changed. All of my everything that was my life and all the things I did changed. Some people were cool with that. Some people weren't. But it's like, I would go to these groups and hear people say, oh, it's so great. I love my life so much better since I quit doing drugs, and everything's so awesome and all that stuff. And I would sit there, like, I'd been clean for like a year at this time, and I'm like, they're full of fucking shit. Life sucks. Like, it was much more fun being high and experiencing life than having to deal with actual problems and emotions and all that shit. Like, so, like, you do get jaded by many people, and you even look at yourself like, is this the right thing? Should I just, like, do whatever the fuck I want, or like, do I need that to actually have a social life and stuff and have fun? And I think that there's a lot of social pressures to conform to whatever society you're in, of course, and challenging it at times. Like you said, to some people it's okay, and to others, you get nothing but hate. And again, I think there's like this redneck cultural thing where it's like, I ask people around me, because Kentucky's very much a red state. Everybody loves Trump, right? And I say, why do you like Trump? Because Trump tells them the way it needs to be. He says it. No. He says the shit other people are scared to say. And it's like, they don't give a shit about him being president. They care because he's an asshole. Like, because he's not trying to work with anybody. He's trying to be a forceful prick, like,
well, he's a thug. He's a thug, and it's the thug mentality. Like, I want to be like that cool gangster, the tough guy. Again, it's the tough guy thing, I think. And I don't understand it, because I hear it the strongest from the guys who are most upset about being a sheep, and following what the government wants you to do or whatever. And it's like, but that's exactly what you guys are doing, Think for yourself, for heaven's sakes.
Make America great again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I wasn't ready for the sheep. 3 of my cousins just got turned on in the other room. I knew I could crack Nitty up.
He disrupted the wedding.
Yeah. Family reunion is going to be totally different this year. But I think there's like that's the mentality, though, of a lot of people in the South in general, is like, the guy with the rebel flag that's always running around saying it's about history and states' rights and all that
heritage
stuff.
And
it's about heritage and all that stuff. Like, the guy that's running around saying that is never like, it's about this, but I love all these other groups of people. Like, there are always other things that go with that, right? There's There's the underlying things that he's not saying that are the truth. And it's kind of like that with people from the South. They think that that's not. I don't even think they're trying to be a tough guy. I think that they're just trying to just fit in with everybody else here. And there's pride in being dumb. Like,
That's what I don't get about
need
Kentucky.
what that book says.
How
I got the only
how
book
does that work,
matters right
Joe?
here.
What is it? That's the thing that I've never been able to fit in Kentucky real well, because that whole thing about there's pride in being dumb.
Willful ignorance.
Yeah, willful, intentional ignorance.
Yeah.
And why is that, though? I still don't understand. Maybe because I didn't grow up in Kentucky,
It could be systemic, like
I think that's part of it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's any one thing,
Yeah, I know. There's always lots of factors,
and the things that you can blame on religion are not any good reason to not accept the claims of religion. You shouldn't accept the claims of religion because they're nonsense. I mean, it's not. It doesn't have. I don't know how else to explain it. It's weird though, because to me these things are normal. Like this is just how it's always been. I was raised in this area. I've always been in this area. I've never seen the ocean. I've never really been anywhere, or I've been to DC a couple times. I've been up in Ohio a few places. I've been to Tennessee, but never really done anything other than just be in Eastern Kentucky. And so these things are very normal to me. And I actually look forward for when everyone comes down here for the whole Ark Encounter thing we're doing. Because I think they're gonna be like, wow, Kentucky is beautiful. Just don't talk to anyone.
Yeah. I've been away from it for, a while, but it's going to come back real fast, I think.
So how far in Ohio were you? Where did you go?
Oh, I'm right on the border.
You are?
Right,
okay.
Right at the interstate. I mean, I live in Harrison, Ohio, but West Harrison is in Indiana. So, and right on the Kentucky border too, almost. So.
Oh, okay. So, okay.
Yeah.
Like I've been to Sandusky and
oh wow, you got all the way up there. Okay.
Yeah. I've been to Cedar Point. I've been to Cleveland. I've been to Toledo.
I grew up on the east side of Cleveland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. My second wife did too. She's from Chagrin Falls.
Oh yeah, my dad did a lot of electrical work there.
Okay.
Drive me around as his child labor. I liked it though. I liked what he.
I laid brick for my child.
It wasn't like hard labor. It's like pull this cord through a wall. Whee!
Yeah.
Like twist these wires and don't do it until I flick this switch. Right? It's like. But now I'm in Columbus.
I visit Columbus often, actually.
Really?
I used to have a lot of friends I would go up there and stay with. Yeah. And go to the Columbus Zoo with my kids, and
my kids love the zoo.
Yeah, the Columbus Zoo is really awesome too. It's the nicer zoo.
How old are your kids?
5 and 8 now, but I've got an 18-year-old too.
You need to come up to Legoland and tell me when you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
So you can say hi, Nitty, and then my kids actually do call me Nitty sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I've got a friend, Will, who's coming from Columbus down here for the whole Ark thing again. So, yeah. But
yeah, do your kids play with Lego? Like Lego?
It's funny you mentioned.
I like Legos. They were my favorite thing as a kid. Oh, all right.
Oh wait, you're not going to be able to see it.
And then here's my Marvel Legos behind me. But what are you showing me, Joe?
That's my son upstairs while I'm making this video, showing off the house he built out of Legos.
My son likes to show mommy. He builds a lot of stuff for mommy.
Yeah, he's big into Minecraft, and so Legos, you know, like he likes to build the stuff he sees in Minecraft, and so he's building him a house. As you do in Minecraft if you play that.
See, I never would have built something for my dad from Lego.
Well, he didn't build it for me. He could give a shit less if I care.
I would build houses for my parents too, and my kids are doing that.
I don't have kids, so this is just
Rod Parsley. You're familiar with? Let me tell you something about.
He's like 30 minutes from me.
Let me explain something. So, when I was in high school, there was a gentleman, and who is currently one of Rod Parsley's underlings, I guess, who preaches and prays people or heals people rather, and does all the nonsense. Who told me I was going to hell because I was popular in high school. But at the same time, I worked with his girlfriend at a local restaurant, and he would come there on her break, and she was telling me all this stuff about, well, he said he prayed to God, and it's okay for us to have sex and stuff because he's a preacher.
Sure. God has a way of being convenient about being okay with the stuff you're okay with and hating the same people you hate.
Several of the people in Rod Parsley's group are from Ashland, Kentucky. More than one.
There it is.
I'm not real familiar with the name though. Is he like a Greg Locke type of
prosperity preacher who basically runs like a mini cult?
What is it? World Harvest or
yeah. Sometimes they run up and down the aisles and shit. They basically like during certain services. Apparently, I don't know if they still do this, but they would basically barricade you in for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, real.
It's real culty.
Culty in a different way from my experience, but. So in honor of X-Men 97, I made this like X-Men diorama type thing.
Nice.
Now that's not the kind of Legos I had. Mine were either squares or rectangles. That's it.
There you go.
Hold on a second. Let me see if I've got it right here beside me. I think I do.
And I got all kinds of other stuff. I'm trying to get through the backlog of Marvel sets that I don't have. It's going to take a little while. Oh, God.
So Nitty, these are your Legos or your kids' Legos?
Oh, I collect them.
Okay.
And my kids also. My son has a bunch of Ninjago. What I panned over to was my daughter's Lego Friends table.
My kid has the Sonic the Hedgehog sets. He likes those a lot.
Oh, and we have the interactive Mario stuff too, but that's upset.
Oh, those are neat. Those are
so I'm like so far outdated on this kind of thing.
Yeah, I collect some tabletop card games too, and I play those.
Neat.
One of them I play with my wife. One, you can play by yourself, and it's Marvel. It's called Marvel Champions. I like.
Okay, I have another friend who's really big into that. Goes to like the conventions and they go and play games and with 80,000 people or something.
Yeah. The what tabletop card games specifically are you into?
Right now I'm playing Marvel Champions.
Right on.
You can play. It's a game where you play as hero. You build a hero deck. You play against a villain, and it all pilots itself. You use your cards as resources to try and kick their ass. And then Dominion. I play Dominion with my wife.
Yeah, not as familiar with that one.
It's a deck building game, but it's deck building as you play. So you start out with 7 gold coins, 7 copper coins, and 3 1-point cards, and then you buy different cards to help you buy higher point value cards. And the game ends when all of the highest point value cards are gone. And then you kind of tally up who got the most points or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And you can buy like, and it's all medieval themed. So
Nice.
You can buy like a Marauders card, right? And it lets you draw 3 cards and makes all your opponents discard a card, right? And then it hinders their progress towards buying stuff.
So if
and it
like
forwards
D&D was a card game, just
yeah, without huge ass character sheets and a lot less to worry about. You reading the card
Right.
explains the card. It's super
Yeah.
simple. Like
yeah.
draw, get a coin, buy one more thing. Ooh. And here are the steps of the turn. It's oh shoot. Action, A for action, B for buy things, C for clean up your shit, and D for which you also and D for draw.
Draw.
And that's it. And then you do it all over again.
Neat.
ABCD.
I'll have to look into that one more.
You can't fuck it
I
up.
like that kind of stuff actually. I was, I was younger though, and like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic.
Yeah, I played Magic for a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only kept like 5 or 6 cards because
A friend of mine just maybe 2 weeks ago explained to me what Dungeons and Dragons was. I thought it was a video game.
Yeah.
I only kept Magic cards that have cats on them.
Okay. I don't know how I missed all this stuff, but apparently I did.
Yeah.
I
This is
missed
one
out
of
on
my
a ton of
favorites.
cultural stuff because of the whole.
What? How old are you, Nitty? Like early 30s?
I'm not telling you.
Okay. Well, that's why I gave you a general out. But
I'm a pretty 25. What do you? I just turned 25.
Yeah.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm turning 25 again this year.
Yeah. My girlfriend was 38 for her 3rd time this year.
Sweet.
But yeah. Anyway, you and I are talking here pretty soon, Nitty. So we'll
Yeah.
get
Not too many spoilers.
yeah. We'll get into some more of that stuff and talk
Yeah.
about some of those interesting things.
These,
I'm actually going to, speaking of kids, I'm going to wrap this thing up here in a few minutes so that I can start
'Cause
getting
he-
my kid ready for bed.
Fine.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
sorry. There's
fine.
only so much KY jelly to go around, right?
Yeah, you don't want to keep going till we're dry. That's just
Yeah. Don't
that's
forget,
not
I got 3
acceptable.
cousins in the other room.
I know, and I can't
And they just heard
believe-
sheep sounds coming from this room. So
hose them down for me.
I don't know what any of that means. It was just
Oh my word! But yeah, this is fun.
But yeah, I am actually planning on taking my kids to Columbus pretty soon. One of my favorite things to do was always go to COSI, and I want my kids to experience some of that stuff. So
It's the best place to spread illness through children.
I imagine so.
Like
Everything's hands on.
Yeah, my friends, when I was in church, well, they're not my friends really anymore, but whenever the winter time they said, yeah, we took the kids to COSI, we were like, oh fuck, like sterilize everything, don't let them over here.
Fuckers out of here. No, I
sure
can
enough,
understand.
That week everybody got sick except for us.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean, I think a few years
I'm not
ago,
trying.
nobody would have,
Summertime, it's fine.
that wouldn't be the thought when somebody said taking their kids to COSI just a few years ago,
Well,
right?
Yeah.
So, the COSI used to come to my school when I was a kid and set up these, big elaborate things, the Star Dome and all the different stuff they have. So, So whenever I got a chance to go up there, my oldest son I took up there, and my kids I want to take to the zoo and COSA and all that crap. So they'll like it. And if they don't, I'll ground them. But anyway, I guess that's all I really got to get into today.
Okay, well, we touched on a lot.
What just
Hey,
happened? Oh, that's
am I
Al.
back again? Holy fuck. My phone rang again, and I didn't hear it ring, and I was yelling at you guys about what fucking assholes some people are, and my mom was on the other line listening to me say that and wondered who the fuck I was mad at. What did I land back in on?
We're about to end. That's
I don't. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
about over
yeah.
now. We're like, I feel like
It's over?
I feel like you should be
Yeah.
tested for a stroke, though.
You think I should be tested for a stroke? Maybe so. Sorry.
I'm just messing with you, Al.
All right.
Your timing has been perfect.
My timing is fucking terrible, apparently. But like, I didn't tell my mother to call me at that point, and I didn't tell my phone to pick up the phone either. It just did it. But I'm on my motorcycle headset, and it's just doing whatever it wants to do, and I'm, here I am rolling down the highway.
You're crazy.
Well, who is?
I've never known anyone who would attempt to motorcycle and be on the StreamYard. This is dangerous. You
Yeah, but
stop it right now.
He's bitching
How is
about people passing
how
him
is
on
it
the
dangerous?
left.
I'm just
Meanwhile,
talking-
He's screaming on you.
I'm
I
passing.
guess.
I'm passing these mofos on the left. I know what I'm doing. No, I'm just
God.
talking. I'm just talking and rolling
That's
down the
fair.
highway.
That's fair.
I can roll down the
that's
highway in my
amazing.
sleep. I can roll down the highway in my sleep. It's fucking easy.
Technology
But
has
yeah, I'm
gone
not-
too far.
Maybe it has. I mean, we've gotten, like, as far as I can see, I've gone back to having a phone call like I could on my original cell phone that had a cord and a battery the size of the battery on my cell phone, my first cell phone, is like 3 times thicker than the most powerful, like, gaming laptop available today.
That kid that was told not to talk on the phone while he was driving, that one?
Who was told that?
I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
Maybe they don't do that in Canada.
No, it's hands free. It's perfectly legal here to be hands
I'm
free.
just fucking with you. I get it.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
All right. No, I just want to make sure people don't come up here and try to be like talking on the phone, like,
Yeah.
know,
Oh,
like
it's
with
not
this holding
text
it.
and drive in Canada. Nobody gives a shit.
you're not allowed. You can't text and drive. You can talk and drive on a hands free device, and you can you can't pass on the fucking right unless you're a fucking suicidal maniac.
Oh,
Is that a fair statement?
I think
Yes.
that's fair.
Mhm.
Okay.
And
You know why you see like mud flaps that say passing side and suicide?
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's
I've
like
never seen
this
those,
guy.
but I get it.
This guy was going up to suicide,
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
but he was accelerating. I had my signal on. He was accelerating from well behind me to get in my way as I came over, and then was upset as though like I was the one cutting him off when he was the one stopping me from getting over. So I accelerated and got ahead of him, and then he came and flipped me off. But the only reason I was over was to let in the traffic that was entering a busy area, and I was getting back over, and he saw me get back over and tried to stop me from doing it, which is why I lost my shit, because I stayed out of his way, got out of his way, did it safely, and then he came and started flipping me off for inconveniencing him for maybe half a second, because once I moved over, he passed me. And that's why I fucking lost my shit, in case anybody was wondering.
Fuck that guy, Al. That
Fuck
guy. Fuck that guy. That guy's stupid. And
He's not in the club. He's not in the club.
It's like, he's not in my club.
yeah, yeah.
He's
All
a
right, well,
he's a fucking maniac.
Somebody's
Anyway,
not
how's
getting
everybody?
any maple syrup for Christmas.
So is the show over, or are we still like broadcasting
Yeah.
my ranting lunacy
Oh,
to
we're in the back room, Al. You can say
Okay.
anything you want now.
well, I'm gonna.
Oh, fuck,
I'm gonna go. I need something to drink. But thanks for having me on.
All right.
Well, hey, nice.
All
to
right.
meet you.
Hey,
Yeah. I'll
Good
probably
talking,
Thanks for
Eddie.
popping in and talking with us.
Yeah, no problem. I'm probably gonna just when you end, I'll probably do something up until Zadanza.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
Can
Later.
I? How?
What?
Hey,
That's
I've
good.
never redirected. How do I redirect people?
Oh, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
I don't think I have enough subs to do that.
No, you gotta have a certain
No,
amount
I
of subs
do.
because you have enough subs to do it. But you can't direct to a creator that has less subs. I don't think. Do you? Can you? I don't know.
I don't know.
I think. But you know what you can do, Joe? Is
Fuck that
like
guy,
this.
Al.
You can do the community post that you did for me the other day. You can do the same thing for
Yeah.
Nitty if you get his
I
link.
actually do that for Nitty quite often.
Yeah. Well, then do it again. No, you're a great promoter, Joe.
I try. I try to.
I know you already know that, but I'm telling you just in case you haven't heard it.
Well, thank
Oh,
you.
geez, I'm gonna get fucking rained on, aren't I?
All right. Yeah, I really need something to drink here. I'm
Okay.
drying up.
All right.
I've run. I need to lubricate again. So.
Your cup runs dry. All right. All right.
All right.
Well, thanks for letting me come and shoot the shit for 5 seconds, Joe. I'm sorry. I got cut off every time I started ranting.
You're welcome to come and cuss until my video gets demonetized anytime, Al.
All right, I appreciate it. I
Sure,
appreciate it.
a
Maybe
little
you.
comic relief.
As
I
long
have
as
to
you,
read.
as long as you keep making that beautiful, beautiful music.
Oh yeah, are you listening to my motorcycle engine, or are you talking about my song?
Your songs.
Oh yeah, well I wrote a new one. Well, you heard the one I sung the other day. That's my newest one.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna recut a couple of my old ones because Dr. Tap and I had a chat about it. He said I should change a couple of words and make them fit a little better and add the karaoke music. So I'm gonna give it a shot
Yeah.
on some of the old ones. Although one of mine's about Hovind, and he got bit by a rattlesnake. So now I don't know if it's in poor taste to make fun of that fucker.
Dr. Tap is the perfect person for you to collaborate about your music with, I think.
He says he's the worst person because he hates music and doesn't
He says
know
he's
what
the
to do
worst
with
at
it.
everything.
He's the best. Well, he's the best physicist, but he spells physicist with 2 Z's and an F,
Right.
which is a little suspect.
A small group, right?
Yeah. Well, anyway, but he's way more of a doctor than fucking Hovind is. That's for sure.
Sure. That is true. That is true.
Yeah. You know, I don't know why he won't tell me about that mole on my scrotum, but he's gonna get around to checking it.
You have to send him a picture of that. But
Yeah.
all right.
Everyone should send one day everyone should send a bunch of pictures in and have Maya on BSS have him diagnose the condition from like super up close pictures of scrotums.
Yeah.
That would be wild.
All right. So I guess pictures of scrotums. Let's end it there.
If I can't end it on scrotums, I don't know what I can end it on.
Yeah. Well, when you're done thinking about scrotums, maybe holler at Kurt, introduce yourself, tell him hi, welcome him.
All right.
I think we're gonna see. We'll be seeing a lot more.
Kurt more? And you've linked Kurt's contact in this video, so when I go back and rewatch it, I'll be finding out all about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kurt's actually linked in the description, although he.
Oh,
he
no.
isn't-
I saw that, and again, I said I'm a troglodyte. I have no idea where that. It's like I have a YouTube.
It goes to
channel or
your
something.
YouTube page, and that doesn't necessarily, like, you don't have to be a creator to have a YouTube page.
But
Like,
YouTube says I have like one video out there, and it's like I not that I know what.
I don't know about that, but
but I don't.
Are you Canadian now?
But if you have you shared someone
Alan,
like
maybe, yeah.
linked it back in? Because you can do that, and it'll count as a video.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, you can
Like-
share other people's videos, but
Yeah.
I give people that information just so they're familiar with your name
Yeah.
and who you are.
Well, and we're
because-
gonna
Okay.
and we'll see you chatting in the side chat and whatnot.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I hope to see all you guys around. It was really great. I appreciate the invite, Joe, and input from everybody. And this has really been awesome for me because I don't get this opportunity often. And my wife is going to strangle me if I don't stop talking about this stuff with her. So
yeah, well, I got a similar problem. My wife's funny too. She's like, my wife says, "Why are you talking to everybody about this shit on the internet?" I was like, "Well, let's talk about it." She's like, "I don't want to talk about it. Go talk to those idiots on the internet."
Thank you, Al's wife.
Yeah, I'll tell her you said that, Joe. She'd appreciate your appreciation.
Yeah, I bet. All right. So, does anybody got anything they want to talk about, plug, say, or anything before I end this thing?
Well, one thing
I thought we were already in the fucking green room.
No. No, it hasn't ended yet.
I got something I do want to plug something. Is on Sunday, on one Sunday night, not necessarily this coming one, on BSS. Maya doesn't know about this yet. She and Dr. Tapp are gonna explain scrotal growth and other skin lesions from the point of view of a physicist doesn't know what he's talking about.
Well, I'm on July 7th on that show, so.
Well, I think you should bring a bag of nuts with you, Joe.
I'll try my best.
Because the only nuts on the show shouldn't be the topic of conversation. You know, like Roger and some of the others, right? We gotta get down to balls here.
More nuts. Yeah.
That's right. All right. No, that's yeah. I know they don't know what's happening, but I've come up with this idea, and I think it's just funny enough that it might go somewhere. Even if I'm the only one that laughs, and I can't stay up and watch it that late.
Well,
but I watch it.
Entertaining yourself. I mean.
Well, I watch it the next morning and I laugh my ass off. So you know, I'm all alone in my truck laughing.
Well, if you're laughing, Al, so is somebody else.
I would hope so. I may not have a sense of much, but I do have a sense of humor.
Sure.
Allegedly. You know what the thing I'm trying to work on is, because my friend that's not doing well, he's lost his sight, and I've been thinking I should try to make YouTube in Braille. And the first videos I'm going to convert to Braille are the ones with the ladies with the great bodies that are dancing, because I think they would be the biggest hit in Braille, just like they are as the regular for the visually more average.
The visually more average, you say?
He's trying to be politically correct about it.
I'm trying not to use the word normal is toxic, and so I'm trying to, like, the more average person has no sight impairment. Yeah, people that have average amounts of sight
suffer from visual impairments.
That's right. The people that suffer from less visual impairment.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at. But I really think there's an untapped market, and I'm trying to figure out how to make it work. Even though I don't personally suffer, but my good buddy has lost his sight, and I just met a new friend who's lost their sight, and I want them to be able to see what I see with their thumbs.
So Braille YouTube videos, yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be my technological marvel if I ever learn. I don't know how much coding I have to learn to do hot looking, and then there's going to be some for the ladies too. Don't worry, I'm not gonna leave anybody out.
Well, I mean, and who knows where you
go.
And
it's Pride.
VR.
It's Pride Month,
right?
It's Pride Month, so I think I'm gonna make it work for everybody.
Okay.
Well, VR. Don't get me started on VR. I had that conversation with that bubblegum guy yesterday, and he doesn't realize that using the word reality in a marketing campaign doesn't make it an actual second reality.
Oh, well, yeah.
So,
yeah. We'll talk about him some other time.
Holy fuck! I hope not.
All right, Issa, what
All
did you want to get in there?
Sure. So I'm actually working on my doctorate right now. I'm working on a dissertation to finish my doctorate off.
All right.
In what? In what? Issa?
It is in it's a doctorate of chaplaincy with a focus on thanatology. So thanatology is the study of death. So I'm doing a kind of a program on looking at how we deal with death and dying. So,
I just went to a Recovering from Religion meetup online a couple days ago about that.
very cool. So when my dissertation is done, you can actually read it because it's a real dissertation that can actually.
Awesome.
Because I was talking about Ken Hovind.
But seriously, I mean, death is a big thing for me. I have a very dark sense of humor, you know, and yeah.
All right.
Well, most of my dissertation, my doctorate has been focused on death studies. So death and dying through religious perspectives as well as secular. So, it's basically how we as humans deal with courageous ways of dealing with death and dying. So that's
Are there 4 questions?
Huh?
Do you have 4 questions for us?
I'm working on my abstract. I have my research material. It's really hard, actually. It's a lot of work.
Oh, I bet.
It's a lot of work. People are like, oh, this is easy. And you're like, that's the difference with like a paper mill degree. You don't really have to do anything. Like you just write a 5-page paper and they'll consider that your dissertation. But like a real dissertation, you have to do a lot of work. It's really grueling. You have to have a lot of research materials that you're looking at. You have to have an abstract. You have to have like a discussion piece and a conclusion. It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff. So I'm working on that. So if any of y'all want to read it after it gets when I defend my dissertation,
I definitely want to read that. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So I'll send it here, and I'm in contact with Joe, so I'll have that, and you can if you want to your contact.
Yeah. Cool.
Give me 1 second, Brandon, and I'll put you on.
This sounds really interesting.
Send it, and we'll actually have a whole discussion about it if you like.
I would love to, and
that's a great idea. Yeah.
It's 100 pages. I've already seen the outline, and it's gonna be good.
It was a good topic just the other day, for recovering from religion, and this sounds very similar to the way it was set up there too.
And definitely, I'm going to be covering religious because I'm looking at different religions. I'm going to be looking at secular, so I'm going to look at secular kinds of ways of looking at death. I think it's really important to look at the whole gamut of what death is like. It's really, really important because it's something we deal with. And my field in thanatology, a lot of people don't want to talk about it because people are afraid of talking about death. But humans, and we have to face death. And it's very easy for us to say,
"Hello there."
Hi.
One user who's got spooky bad hair knows me, saying I have the best streams.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh.
I actually didn't mean to add you just yet. I let Issa finish up what he was saying.
There's a restream button right there at the top.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Dealing with death and dying, it's such an important topic. We really need to know about it. And I have already worked on my bibliography and my references, so I have my sources that I'm going to be dealing with, and it's kind of cool because whether you're religious or not, religious people have different ways of dealing with death. People who are not religious have different ways. We have a human way of dealing with death, and that's super important in my work, like within chaplaincy. How do we do that? So And one other thing I want to mention is Modern Day Debate is doing a debate on is Noah's Ark, the flood real or not. So if folks after the stream want to head over to Modern Day Debates, that's a cool place to go to also. And they're having an after show too. So yeah.
Awesome. All right.
Cool. That was a Noah's Ark one's coming up.
That's right now. It's happening now.
It's right. Oh, right. It's not coming up soon. It's coming up immediately.
It's coming up already.
All right. Wow. Okay. Well, they better start building that ark because it's raining where I am right now.
Yeah. All right. So, before we go, let's see what this is about because I'm intrigued.
All right.
I am.
All right. Sorry, Brandon. Issa was trying to explain something there, and that's why I didn't add you at first, just because I didn't want to interrupt him, and I kicked you back out because of my bad timing. It was my fault. What's up? What's up? Spooky says you have the best streams.
Spooky bad hair.
Yeah. And you show Looney Tunes.
Yes, that's
Cartoon.
an old school. Sometimes I even saw them on panels.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
And I'm almost the fourth. I'm on the goal to 4,000. There's a restream button, by the way.
yeah. Well, I mean, good luck with that. Unfortunately, you dropped in right as we were ending this stream, and so we're not really going to go down that whole rabbit hole. Pun completely.
Oh, I can't stream it. I can at least restream this for about 45 minutes.
You want to restream this for 45 minutes?
For about an hour or so.
I mean, you can do whatever you want. I don't care. I'm not like going to copyright hit you if you show my stuff. Is that what you're asking?
And we live.
Now, you want me to stay on live for 45 minutes?
Yes.
No.
I got to go eat dinner.
Yeah. We got stuff to do. We've been doing this for 3 hours. You just got here.
Yeah.
And I just got here as well.
Well, I mean, I completely, respect what you do. But we're tired old people.
Oh.
That's right.
But-
Well,
Hey,
Well,
I tell you
I'm
what,
tired and I'm old.
and scrotum. You're welcome to come back though on Sunday, and catch the show, and we'll go on for longer than 45 minutes. And if you got something related to the topic that you want to talk about, we can even do that.
I said, Kate Esquire wants to meet you.
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Right.
me.
Oh. So if you're not, you seem like a pretty decent user. Subscribe.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That was nice.
All right.
All right. I think with all that out of the way, I'm going to end this before,
Before
whatever.
anything else crazy happens.
Yeah.
Like all right. That was good. I know more now than I knew 5 seconds ago. That's for damn sure.
Exactly.
Spooky Bad Hair, I know him. He does Looney Tunes cartoons.
Yeah.
Spooky's a good cat. I'll vote for Spooky.
If Spooky says that you're okay, then you're okay by me.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Spooky might actually be friendlier than Casper.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you have
So-
him? Do you have him at Looney Tune character?
Happy with Looney Tune characters?
Uh-huh.
I don't know that I don't know that Looney Tunes characters affect my happiness. I mean, I guess that, they're more pleasant than, the mole on Al Scrotum, but
Yeah, well, it's starting to hurt.